I have admired Kartini since I was young. We always celebrated Kartini's days at school on every April 21st. She is honored as a pioneer in women's rights in Indonesia. Kartini was born to aristocracy in Jepara, a town in central Java Island, on April 21, 1879. Her father was a Javanese aristocrat working for the Dutch colonial government. This allowed Kartini the privilege to go to a Dutch school at the age of 6. Unfortunately, due to Javanese tradition, she had to stop schooling at the age of 12, and she stayed at home to learn homemaking skills for her marriage preparation. In isolation, Kartini continued to educate herself on her own. Because she understood Dutch, she read books, newspapers, and she wrote letters to some Dutch schoolmates and some influential Dutch friends. In her letter, she protested the gender inequality of Javanese tradition and the forced marriage at a young age, which denied women the freedom to pursue education. One of her letters to Stella Sinhanderlar, she wrote, I shall obtain my freedom. I will, Stella, I will. Do you understand that? How shall I be able to win if I do not strive? How shall I be able to find if I do not seek? Without strife, there can be no victory. I shall strive and I shall win. I'm not afraid of burdens and difficulties. I feel strong enough to overcome them. But there is one thing that I'm afraid to face squarely. Stella, I have often told you that I love my father dearly. I don't know if I shall have the courage to carry my will through, if it would break his heart, which is full of love for us. I love him unspeakably, my old grey father, old and grey through care for us, for me. If one should be condemned to unhappiness, let me be the one. Here lurks egoism, for I could never be happy, even if I had my freedom, even if I gained my independence, if in attaining them I had made father miserable. Finally, Dutch Education Department offered a scholarship to Kartini to study in Holland. But she had to accept an arranged marriage at the age of 24 with a man who was twice of her age and already had 3 wives. One of her letters to Mother Chair, or Mrs. Abendanon, the wife of Governor General Abendanon in Indonesia, she wrote about her desperation to study abroad, but she turned her desperation into an aspiration to start the school for native girls in her hometown. Father, if I do not go to Holland, may I not go to Batavia to study medicine? Father's answer to this was easy enough to comprehend. I must not forget that I am a Javanese. It would not be possible to take a step now. There would be many trials and difficulties to overcome because I should be the first. Then I asked, if native girls of Mr. Abendanon should materialize, may I become a teacher? And I told him what Mrs. Abendanon had proposed to me. moderate it was as though the door of heaven sprang open, and the eternal splendor blazes before my eyes. When I heard the father says, "That is good, that is a good idea. You could do that very well." With the help of Apandanan and Dutch government, Kartini opened the first primary school for native girls in 1903. To her, the ideal education for a young woman encouraged empowerment and enlightenment. She also promoted lifelong education. But she did not live long. At the age of 25, she passed away because of childbirth. Dr. Apandanan, with the support from the Queen of Wilhelmina from the Netherlands, continued Kartini's aspiration by building Kartini School in Batavia in 1907, and other Kartini schools were built in other cities in Indonesia. After 7 years of her death, Dr. Apandanan published the collection of her letters with the title From Darkness to Light. At Amazon you can find the book with the title Letters of a Javanese Princess. Today Indonesians honor her as a pioneer in women's rights and celebrated Kartini's Days on April 21st. I feel lucky because I have the freedom to continue my education. From her story, I learned that although she had a limitation in her life, she had unlimited mind. There was no social media in 18th century, but she continued to fight her dream and turn it into aspiration to start schools for native girls. She influenced people through her letters to make her aspiration come true.